fix is in. Canada's next Prime Minister was just anointed behind closed doors in a questionable race. Trudeau's usefulness has run its course. He's just not cute anymore. So the elites have moved on, and they've chosen their new golden boy, Mark Carney. That's why we're launching thecarneyfiles.com, your one-stop shop for everything the establishment and the legacy media don't want you to know about the next to sit upon the liberal throne. Because while the mainstream press is polishing off their puff pieces, we're doing what they refuse to, exposing the real Mark Carney. And trust me, there's a lot to expose. This isn't just some mild-mannered banker turned politician. Carney was the man whispering in Trudeau's ear for the last 5 years. All those things the Liberals did to us, that was him. From lockdowns to tax hikes to overspending to even electric vehicle mandates. Carney is Trudeau 2.0, but more dangerous. He's the hand-picked globalist successor to Trudeau, a man whose loyalties don't lie with Canada, but with the unelected power brokers who pulled the strings from Davos at the World Economic Forum and at the UN. Remember, Carney's a self-described European with 3 citizenships.
Mark, you look like you were about to.
Yeah, it was a tell.
As a European, as a
European, I am a European, actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh.
Irish citizen. Yeah, so there
welcome.
you go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European.
We're talking about a man who has spent his entire career pushing the very policies that have gutted the Canadian middle class. From his time at the Bank of Canada, to his role at the Bank of England, to his non-stop advocacy for extreme carbon taxation under the guise of climate action.
The reporting, making it mandatory so all companies are reporting their climate risk. That's something actually Mike Bloomberg spearheaded 5 years ago. It's moving into mainstream. We want it everywhere by COP26. Secondly, on the risk side, we need the banks to look at the risks around the climate transition, which then flip to opportunities. On the opportunity side, it's really about looking for and at transition plans from all companies and backing those who are part of the solution and taking capital away from those who are part of the problem.
And let's not forget his cozy connections to some very unsavory characters like Ghislaine Maxwell. She ring a bell? Oh yeah, Carney's got tangential ties to her too. The very same woman who helped Jeffrey Epstein run one of the most disgusting criminal operations in modern history. But good luck hearing that on the CBC or the CTV. They won't touch it. Too busy protecting their next meal ticket, I guess. And then there's his manifesto, Values, a book that reads less like a personal philosophy and more like an instruction manual for a globalist coup. In it, Carney lays out his plan for a so-called moral economy, where unelected bureaucrats, not free markets, dictate how you live, how you work, and how much you pay for basic necessities. It's like a carbon tax fever dream wrapped in Orwellian doublespeak. But wait, there's more. Carney's got his own conflicts of interest, which probably make him the perfect successor to Trudeau, the kind the legacy media would be all over if Carney had a conservative label next to his name. Let's talk about Brookfield Asset Management. Carney was vice chair at Brookfield, a global investment giant that made a fortune off green energy subsidies while conveniently opposing pipelines here in Canada. And then there's Carney telling Canadians that oil and gas was a dead industry, advocating against pipelines here in Canada, but Brookfield was also simultaneously busy funding pipelines in the Middle East.
Support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney?
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
You support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it is sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Polyev, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank
issues,
you so much.
It may help. One of the issues for this committee in thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography. It matters. It matters.
Okay.
And this is a fundamental point.
Yeah.
Carney had no problem helping bankroll fossil fuel expansion overseas while helping crush Canadian energy jobs at home. And it doesn't end there. Carney also played games with Brookfield's head office relocation timeline, shifting narratives about when and why they moved their corporate headquarters to the United States.
You were the vice chairman at Brookfield Asset Management prior to
the chair.
The
I was the chair.
Sorry. In the fall, they moved their head office from Toronto to New York. Did you approve of that decision, and what does this say about your commitment to growing Canada's economy and betting on Canada as for now?
Okay. So two things. I'll just correct a few factual things. One, I was chair of Brookfield Asset Management. I ceased to be chair on the 15th, I think, of January when I announced for leadership. Also ceased to be chair of Bloomberg as well. Ceased to be United Nations Special Envoy on Climate Action and Finance. Ceased to be a number of other things. So I resigned all my positions because I am all in for Canada, all in for this leadership, all in during this time of crisis to build our great country, okay? That's the first thing. Second, the formal decision of the board happened after I ceased to be on the board. I do not have a connection with Brookfield Asset Management. No longer have a role, obviously, as I resigned in the middle of January.
States. 1 minute it's staying in Canada, the next it's headed south, and yet this is the guy who wants to dictate our economy, who wants to tell us what industries are moral and which ones need to be shut down, and how we need to preserve Canadian jobs while moving Canadian jobs out of the country. The hypocrisy is astounding. Now, here's where it gets worse. Carney is already willing to mislead Canadians to avoid accountability. He knows he can't handle real scrutiny, so instead of answering tough questions, he simply shuts out the only people willing to ask them. Independent journalists are being barred from his events, blocked from getting credentials, and denied access to ask the questions that the legacy media refuses to touch.
Can you close this door, please? Just tell people.
Sorry, can I just know?
I'm sorry.
Have you flagged me in particular?
I'm sorry.
How much is this costing the taxpayer?
I'm not here to answer any questions. I'm asking you to.
Why does Mark Carney get armed RCMP security?
Stop.
You said you're the police. What's your name and badge number?
Was just wondering, are you an RCMP?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is it something normal to see a candidate having private RCMP?
Well, I'm not really here to answer any questions.
You should relax. It sounds like you're getting very aggravated.
I am, because the organizer is telling you to leave the place. I don't want you to walk backwards, sir. It's not safe to walk backwards.
But here's the thing. None of anything I've just told you is a secret. The information is out there, but the media refuses to touch it. Why? Because Pierre Poilievre has promised to defund them, and they're terrified. Terrified Canadians might actually learn the truth about the Liberal Party's latest Frankenstein experiment before it's too late. So if you want to know who really runs this country, who's pulling the strings, who's writing the playbook, and who's about to step in as Trudeau's heir, you don't want to miss this campaign. Go to thecarneyfiles.com and join us as we pull back the curtain on the most dangerous man in Canadian politics. Because this isn't just about another Liberal Party leader. This is about the survival of Canada as we know it. And if we don't fight back now, we might not get another chance. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. To learn more about Mark Carney, the anointed heir to Justin Trudeau as the Liberal Party leader, but also as the hopefully very short-lived Prime Minister of this country, details the mainstream media won't tell you, please go to thecarneyfiles.com.